Hey, how's it going, everybody? Season 2, Episode 2 of the PigPod here today. Sam Jelinek with you, and for our second episode here of the 2023 season, we had Trey Comp, Episode 1. We're dipping into the position player pool here today. We've got Weston Wilson. Weston, thank you so much for giving us the time today.
It's good to be here. I'm excited to jump into whatever you got.
So, you're in year 1 here in the Phillies organization. You had spent the entirety of your career with the Milwaukee Brewers, working your way up to AAA Nashville. Did you ever think at the start when you initially got drafted, looking down the road that, hey, at one point free agency is going to be a thing and, go through a whole new recruitment process again?
To be honest, I didn't really think about it. Obviously the goal when I got drafted was to play in the big leagues with Milwaukee. Of course, that didn't happen. There was a point where I thought it might, back in 21. But, I think I started to see that free agency might be a thing towards the end of last year. Just didn't, felt like it was going to end up being one of those things where I'd actually hit that process.
And what is free agency like going into it as a minor league free agent? Because it's a lot of things, like you said, most guys never consider, but once you actually hit it and you've performed enough that, hey, other teams want you to be at that AAA level so that, spot opens up in the 40-man. Eventually you get up to the big leagues. What's that like going through it, trying to decide what organization is going to be the best fit for me?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of things go through your mind. You think of the draft, doesn't always go the way you want it to. Maybe you wait a little longer, or it's a different team than you think. So like with free agency, going into it, you obviously don't know how it's going to feel not having a job. For the last 7 years, I've had a job, and all of a sudden you don't. And so you're kind of in that waiting period of like, who has interest, who's showing the most interest. Then you start to negotiate some things, and then, I had interest really early, which was a great sign from a couple teams. And then there was like a little cold period for about a month. And, not that I got worried, but it's like, I kind of want to get this out of the way so that I can just focus on where I'm going to be next year. And, fortunately, Philly came in right before Christmas and, let my agent know that we're going to give an offer. And I guess it was just after Christmas they gave the offer, kind of let other teams know, and then ended up going with them on Saturday, which was December 31st. And I don't think it was made official until a couple days later, but that was pretty much when it happened.
And I know you and I had talked about it before that you're pretty close to Jeremy Walker.
Yeah.
And that I think he signed at the beginning of December with the Phillies. And, you guys had a little bit of back and forth. What did you kind of learn from him as far as, when you were trying to pick up, what he was thinking with the Phillies and what, you could get from him?
I don't think this was his first. He's been through some different teams, but he signed with them, and I'm like, it's great. We had talked actually, when was this? Back in Vegas. Mm-hmm. He was with Durham, I was with Nashville in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
And, like you said, we grew up playing with each other, against each other. And when was this? In Vegas, he's like, dude, how cool would it be to play with each other next year? And I'm like, obviously that'd be awesome. But didn't really think, what are the odds out of 30 teams? One would want both of us or need both of us. And sure enough, he signed with Philly. And I was actually going home for Christmas. We're working out together a couple times. And he's like, dude, if you get an offer from the Phillies, you got to sign. And I'm like, it's not going to happen. And my agent calls me. He's like, hey, Phillies are going to offer. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird, And then we were sitting in the car, and I was like, with Jeremy, sitting in the car. I'm like, dude, I wish my agent would call me with this offer. And I promise you, within 2 minutes, I got a call. It was my agent. Hey, the Phillies offered. Here it is. And it was just kind of one of those God moments, because we had talked about it. Like, for it to work out, it would be kind of a work of, it would be a miracle in a sense, or oddity. But yeah, it happened. Prayed about it a bit. There's some other interest was there, and then kind of just decided, I felt like Philly was the right fit for me. And it was awesome watching them in the postseason last year. Like, to see that, it was kind of like, I want to go to a team that has a winning culture. And you know, maybe the opportunities aren't as easy to get to the big leagues here as they would have been some other places. But to be a part of something like that was something I really wanted to be, you know, part of.
I had talked about it a little bit with actually Eric Ullman and John Hicks, both guys who, you know, had a little bit of major league service time, also, you know, around the same age as you, where coming to the Phillies, like you said, the opportunities to get to the majors might not be on the surface as plentiful, but at the same time, like you said, for a team that was just in the postseason, results are everything.
Yeah.
And you kind of know that, hey, if I perform down here at AAA and I force their hand, they're not in the business of waiting, oh, you know, we got a younger prospect or something like that. It's, if you can contribute right now, we need you. That must have been a good draw.
Yeah, for sure. And they're very, they communicate that very well to guys. If there's a need, they're going to call people up. And I think we've already seen that this year with a couple dudes. And I think that's a place you want to be. They also have a high payroll. So guys that don't have service time and are getting called up for the first time are cheap. So, yeah, man, like I said, to be a part of something special like I saw on TV last year is something that I was looking forward to.
To back things up a little bit and go into a little bit of your childhood growing up, you grew up in North Carolina. You ended up going to Clemson. I'm curious about what kind of drew you there, and two parts of that is, one, I saw a picture of you first year or two maybe at Clemson, A, no beard, B, long hair, and C, a second baseman.
Yes. All right. To circle back, the first part of that question, I grew up an NC State fan my whole life. Both grandparents went there. Grew up going to basketball games, football games, baseball games, you know, pretty much every sport. So went on a visit there, liked it, still didn't feel necessarily like that was a spot. I had a couple of other visits to go on and wanted to test the waters there. Went to Clemson, and, you know, I've always been big on, like, certain feelings on things, making decisions like that. That's a big decision. So got there, met the staff, saw the place, the tradition, beautiful campus. It is kind of in the middle of nowhere, but, you know, I think they talk about family. I think it is like a big community. So just really felt that when I was there. And cool story, I got the offer from Clemson, went to the football game afterwards, didn't commit on spot, and I think they were playing Wake Forest, and they were down by 20 plus, I think. And I remember telling Jack Leggett, the head coach at the time, at halftime, we're going to win by field goal, or they are going to win by field goal. And sure enough, there's an opportunity coming down, and they have like a 30 or 40 yarder, kick the field goal to take the lead with like 30 seconds. And I was like, when they hit that field goal, I was like, I'm coming. You know, I think that was like the perfect timing for it. So, yeah, in regards to the beard, we had to shave.
Okay.
That was a team rule. I don't really think I could grow a beard back then, to be honest. I would probably try to grow what I could, but no, they didn't want that. So, and then long hair was not a thing either. We had a coaching change after my freshman and sophomore year, going into junior year. He allowed it. It was, I felt like it was a more free environment in a sense to, you know, be yourself. So I took advantage of what I couldn't do for the last 2 years, and, you know, grew a beard out, grew my hair out. So, yeah.
So I got to ask you now, because there's some great facial hair on the team, but I always come back to you. That is a perfectly manicured beard.
I got to clean the neck up a little bit right now. But
what is the regimen? Because, I mean, it's truly stunning.
Don't shave it. I clean my cheeks up a little bit, my neck up, but other than that, just try to brush it a little bit, make sure I'm scrubbing it good, and sometimes, you know, put some oil in it.
Yeah. So you do it all yourself, though? You don't go to a barber?
Absolutely. I get scared. If I go to a barber shop and they give me a fade and they're like, "Do you want me to blend it in with a beard?" No, don't even touch my beard.
Good for
I will do it because I've had it messed up before, and it was not a good feeling.
One thing I saw after you got drafted, you were playing for the Carolina Mudcats. It's a place that I've been a couple of times down in Zebulon, and I had done some research on it before, but I stumbled upon it somehow. I don't know how I didn't see it sooner. You proposed to your girlfriend before a game, first pitch style.
I think that is not particularly me. It was one of those things where I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
I've never asked a girl to prom or any of that stuff. So, I went to my manager and team at Stretch one day, and I'm like, "Hey, guys, I want to propose. Do y'all have any ideas?" My manager's like, "Tell her to throw out the first pitch. Every girlfriend's going to do it at some point in the season. She'll never think it's coming." Which she didn't. She didn't know. But I had called her dad to ask her. They live up in Cape Cod, so it was kind of far. I didn't have time to, drive up there.
Mid-season.
Yeah. So, and another funny story on that was I asked him, "Hey, what's a good number to call you on, a business number or cell?" He sends me a number over text. One digit is off, but I have no clue at the time. I just clicked the number, called it. I'm scared to death, just nervous. And he answers, the guy answers the phone and says, "Hello," and I'm like, all right, I'm jumping into it. Gave my 2-minute spiel, and the guy starts laughing, and he's like, "Do you even know who my daughter is?" And I'm like, "Of course." And in the back of my head, we'd only been dating for four months.
Yeah.
And so I thought he was joking with me, like, there's no way you know her at this point. And I'm like, "Of course." And he goes, "I don't have a daughter." And so I realized, hung up the phone, it's not the right number. Called him back on his cell that I had texted, and he was like, "Gosh, I'm sorry, like I sent the wrong number." So it was good practice, but anyways, she thought I was going to ask him when they came to that series when I did ask her. So, it was one of those things. She was surprised. I was very happy, but I don't think that's particularly me doing it in front of a crowd. But, it worked out, and we're still together. So, yeah.
And I've talked to you a little bit about both you and her career, because in a way I always like to think about baseball players, although you guys are athletes, in a weird sense, it's also kind of an entertainment business.
Yeah.
And she is also in the entertainment business, modeling, voice acting, that kind of stuff. How have you kind of jumped into or learned about what her career is like and kind of blended you guys together in a way?
Yeah. She's been in the business for a long time, so she knows it very well. Mostly modeling. She hopped into acting during COVID. Has been doing some of that since then. I think she has more of a passion for that than modeling, but I think her being in that business has helped me with the social side of things, just in all aspects. Yeah, I guess.
And I gotta imagine it kind of helps in the sense that mentally they're two very tough industries.
Yes, I mean there's a lot of failure in baseball, but then there's like that waiting period in acting and modeling and stuff, like just where you're kind of waiting for opportunities to come about. Same thing in baseball. If you're performing, you're kind of waiting for an opportunity to come about. You can do everything you can on the field and still never get an opportunity in the big leagues. I've seen that with a lot of really good players. So yeah, I mean, just being able to like bounce this stuff off each other has been good. Maybe if there's something that I'm dealing with, she can encourage me, or something she's dealing with, I can encourage her. So it's been a long journey for me, and I honestly I see light at the end of the tunnel still, and I'm going to keep pursuing it.
The one thing I'm always curious about in baseball relationships is there's always that point where, when somebody starts, a baseball player or somebody who works in sports starts dating somebody else and trying to get them to understand what the lifestyle is like. And I was shocked to find out that you guys were only together for 4 months before you got engaged, just from the standpoint of how did you kind of get her to understand of like, hey, like 6 months out of the year, I'm going to be pretty busy. Yeah.
I don't think it really set in for a couple of years for her. but she was very good about it.
Yeah.
In a sense. Like, she supported me, and she has supported me the entire time. But I think until you're in it for years, it's hard to realize, like, the dedication and the time spent away from family, friends, and all that is. So, yeah, I mean, we've been through a lot of, separation too, like with her having her own job, and me having to be on the road all the time. This is actually the first year that we've been together. So it's been awesome to come home to her at night instead of just once a month or once every 6-8 weeks. That's been great for sure.
One of the things I very recently learned about you, and thankfully now that we're actually recording the podcast on video, we can show it a little bit, tattoos. You are a little bit of a tattoo artist. How did that start? And when did... I never got clarification. Have you given yourself a tattoo?
No.
Okay.
I haven't. Well, I've touched a couple lines up, but that's it. It all started last year, and I haven't even done but 2 tattoos. I would like to do more.
Hey, that's 2 more than me.
Yes, yeah. So, but I had a guy, Joey Weimer, that I played with. He's in the big leagues with Milwaukee now. He's like, Wes, I want you to tattoo this on me. He has a collection. I'm not going to say anything about them, but, they're cool tattoos. And he wanted me to add some. And never ended up having time, but I've had the machine with me. Mm-hmm. Ended up tattooing a guy, Brian Navarretto, a little small one. And it turned out better than I expected. And then all of a sudden, Hans comes in, and he's...
I knew Hans was going to weasel his way into the story, being the tattoo guy. I knew it.
Yeah, he's like the perfect canvas. He's got a lot of tattoos, and he was like, look, I don't care. Just do your best. Which kind of gave me confidence to, like, not stress about it. And it, like I said, it turned out really well, considering that I've never done, like, a cartoon on somebody before.
What did you give Hans?
Speedy Gonzalez. Never heard of him before, or whatever the little mouse thing is, but...
When did you give it to him?
With Chavo written above it, because that's his nickname.
When did you give it to him?
It was in Jacksonville.
Okay, it was in
the
Jacksonville.
hotel room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was just curious, because you came in on the tail end of it during batting practice, that we were talking about, because it was Runner's World night back on Wednesday.
Okay.
And we got on the discussion of how fast could you run a mile, and Hans claimed he could do it in 5:30. Which I was thinking, hey, maybe that he thinks he's Speedy Gonzalez. I don't know.
Hans is interesting, man. Like, I wouldn't put it past him. The guy's really good at golf too, and if you look at him, I don't know that you would expect a guy with neck tats like Chavo to be good at golf, but he is. So I'm not saying he's a liar. I think he probably could.
You had brought up Joey Weimer, and now with Hans, when you look at both of them, you can just tell that they're both very interesting guys. I got the pleasure of watching Weimer play at Low A back in 2021.
Okay.
Who have you come across in your baseball life that, has been kind of one of those favorite teammates where sometimes you just sit back and, just on any day, you're just like, they're going to make me smile. They're going to do something that's going to make me laugh.
God, honestly, there's too many to even, like, name. Usually every team has, like, 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Where they will entertain you, and you don't even have to, like, feed into it. They're just gonna do it. So, off the top of my head, I can't really think of any specific names, but those are 2 for sure.
One final question, because it was something that I saw that when you were on the road in Jacksonville, you guys had the day off before the series started, and I happened to see on Instagram that you got to play TPC Sawgrass. Yeah. Who was the foursome? You, Scott,
Petey, and Hixie.
Okay. And I saw that you thanked Roger Clemens for it.
Yes.
What is the story there? I can piece it together, I think, but I want to hear it from you.
So I think this was set up a while ago. Mm-hmm. I kind of joined that foursome later. It was those 3, and I think so. Cody was supposed to go.
Yeah.
Obviously, he got called up, and they just kept the tee time, and Roger had set it up. But I was fortunate to be the one to join and not have to pay. Over $700 for that round.
Oh my goodness.
Which is, I think, what it ended up being for guys.
How'd you shoot?
From what I heard. Which I would not have gone if it was that much.
How'd you shoot?
I think I had a goal of breaking 90, and
Yeah.
I shot 89. So
Not too bad.
I was happy with it, considering it was my first time playing there.
Yeah.
The conditions were kind of windy, and it's a lot tougher course than you expect.
How do you do on the island green?
Missed it.
Oh.
Yeah, I missed it. So even with that, I still broke 90, which is pretty good.
Did anybody hit the green?
I think Hicksy did, and Scotty did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not too shabby.
I know one of them for sure. I can't remember, but Pete and I know. So.
Well, Weston, that'll about wrap it up for today's episode of the PigPod. We really appreciate you giving us the time. This was an awesome conversation. You've had a great start to the year, and hopefully this will help you continue it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.